the evening, when the sun sets and tranquil darkness approaches, many animals awake and their activities begin. The hours of twilight, followed by darkness, is the best feeding time for such animals, and the night is alive with such nocturnal creatures. One important among them is bat. Bats are taken as world's most malign animals, but they are in fact the most misunderstood and neglected ones. This perhaps is due to their nocturnal, secluded and colonial habits. Yet they are the most fascinating flying mammals. Bats are linked with evils and have been often associated with death. That they catch nose is a common superstition in India, and that they get into women's hair in America. Bats are included in order Chiroptera, which constitute nearly 1/4 of phylum Mammalia. About 912 species of bats are known, which are widely distributed all over the globe, except the Arctic and Antarctic regions. They vary in size. Some bats have a wing spread span as long as 2 meters. Bats are broadly classified into 2 categories: Megachiroptera, that is large-sized bats, and Microchiroptera, that is small-sized bats. The former are mostly frugivorous, while the latter insectivorous. Furthermore, some bats feed on pollens and nectar, and some eat fish too. Vampire bats suck blood. Meat-eating bats feed on frogs, lizards, birds, and mice. And also there are bats who eat bats. The frugivorous bats mostly roost on large shady banyan trees near a water reservoir, while the insectivorous bats roost inside tunnels, in ruins, in unattended buildings, and unused wells. The bats are shy animals and do not like human interference. They are harmless, and not only that, they are beneficial and play an indispensable role in maintaining a healthy ecosystem. The fruit-eating bats are nature's most important seed disperser, who pollinate more than 130 genera of tropical and subtropical trees and shrubs. The insectivorous bats eat away insects, which could be harmful to crops. Their guano is used as fertilizer. Since the bats fly in dark in search of food, they have developed the device of echolocation. They produce ultrasonic sound, the frequency of which is 3200 kilocycles per second. The sound gets reflected from any object within 1 to 6 yards of the bat. This is perceived by the bat and can judge the distance of the object. It was this echolocation which inspired the scientist to invent radar. The Indian desert, which constitutes mostly of the western part of Rajasthan, is inhabited by 21 species of bats. The desertic conditions, the extreme variation in temperature and relative humidity, low and scanty rainfall, continuous long sunshine, and the dust storms are the reasons for this availability of limited species of bats here. 12 species of bats are found in Jodhpur and its surroundings. The hot, arid western region of Rajasthan is not suitable for fruit-eating bats, and only 3 species of bats, Pteropus giganteus, Cyanopetrix phoenix, and Rositus lesnolti, occur in semi-arid and humid eastern part of Rajasthan. The arid region, however, is quite suitable for many insectivorous species of bats, and they are found in fair abundance.
The study of bats is still in the stage of infancy in India, and for the desert bats we have limited information. The ecological study of these Indian desert bats, especially of Microchiroptera, have revealed some very interesting observations.
Microclimatic study at the roosting sites of bats in deserts were undertaken in 3 different seasons: hot, dry season from March to June, the cool, wet season from July to September, and the cold, dry season from October to February. It was observed that being nocturnal and aerial, these bats do not face the normal diurnal problems of desert life, such as wind velocity, long continuous sunshine, dry soil, etc. The problems they face are the high temperature and low relative humidity. Bats, in order to combat these, select proper roosting sites and have thus become eclectic. The temperature fluctuates within a narrow range inside the roosting place as compared to outside, where it varies from 0 to 45 degrees Celsius or even more. The relative humidity outside, likewise, fluctuates from dry to normal, rarely being wet, which is normal to wet, and rarely dry inside the roosting place. As the Microchiropteran bats are insectivorous, and since the availability of insects is restricted only to the rainy season, they are voracious eaters. If available, they can consume insects more than half of their own body weight in one night. They convert the extra food into fat, which is deposited in their body to tide over food scarcity condition. The bats are colonial, and each colony has hundreds of thousands of animals. These colonies consume tons of insects, which may harm crops and thus indirectly help the tillers. The daily rhythmic activities of bats indicate that almost all of them have roost site attachment. When disturbed, they leave the roosting site but return soon. Even when they migrate during the cold, dry season, they go to the same place year after year and come back to the same place. The roost site attachment may be due to the factors that it has a relatively constant temperature and it probably safeguards them from predators. The daily activity observed as diurnal, that is normal, and foraging, that is pre-emergence and emergence, have indicated that during day bats rest in different postures inside the roosting place. The Rhinopoma microphyllum pineri roost inside the tunnel, in the corner of the compartment, at the junction of wall and the ceiling, and on ceiling. In the corner, bats hang in groups of about 4 to 10 with head down and wings completely drawn in. They cover one another in such a way that only their heads are visible. At the junction of the walls and ceiling, they hang in a straight line either singly or one over the other. On the ceiling, they sit individually, apparently without any order. They hang either by hind legs or by forearms. Hippoceterus, bicolor fulvus, another species of bat, roosts separately. It hangs freely with hind legs on the ceiling and forearm in the air. It constantly moves its head sideways. When disturbed by external stimuli, such as net, foot sound, light, etc., the bats may simply shift a meter or two away or fly near in the same vicinity. But they would return soon. Although the bats remain lethargic throughout the major part of the day, they are not asleep and respond immediately to the disturbance. They raise their head, swing their tail, watch the intruder, and then fly away. They are very sensitive to sound and can perceive even faint sound of footsteps. On hearing the sound, they produce their own sound, or they stretch their wings, touch other bats with wings or feet, raise their head and ears, crawl up towards the ceiling, and finally fly away. The reaction to light also is the same. The pre-emergence activity, that is the activity before they come out for food, starts 2 hours before sunset. The routine is coordinated with the rise of temperature during the day and the movement of the sun. They give out periodic flight calls and make long continuous sound with short breaks. This is the signal for preparation of emergence. Mostly, all bats exit and enter the roosting place from the western opening. For emergence, one bat scout comes out and takes a round outside and inside the roosting place and finally sets off towards the west side. A flock of bats follows it soon. This activity continues till the sunset, starting at dusk. Before leaving for nocturnal hunt, bats take circles around the place. At first, the frequency of circle is less, but as the sunset approaches, the frequency increases. Sometimes they are perched on outer wall before finally leaving for hunt. Light is the important factor determining the emergence, and there may be some differences in the styles of emergence in different species of bats. During cold dry season, when insects number is restricted, some of these desert bat migrate locally. Thus such bats have two roost sites. Firstly, summer or natal roosting site, where they feed and give birth to young ones, and the second is winter or resting site, where they remain throughout the winter, slow down their physiological processes, and undergo a condition of semi-torpor. The migration and emigration to these roosting sites is nearly regular and constant. The numbers start increasing at the summer roost from March and reaches to its maximum by the end of June. This emigration and return of the bats are not related with the change in temperature and relative humidity, but is probably due to self-imposed time schedule of their own. The female gave birth to young ones in July. Though Rhinopoma and Taphogus roost and live together, their delivery time is different. Rhinopoma gives birth to young ones in July, while Taphogus do the same in the month of June. Most of the female deliver one child, and delivery occurs in such a way that the young ones during birth and after remain attached with mother's breast. The newborn is deaf, dumb, and without much hair on the body. The mother keeps the juvenile abreast for 10 to 20 days. The infant-mother attachment also differ in both these species. In Rhinopoma, the infant is attached to mother's breast with head down towards mother's tail, while its hind legs form a chiasma around the mother's neck. In Tephujus, the juvenile's head is towards mother's head and it fixes hind legs with interfemoral membrane of the mother. Certain characteristic of bats such as highly sophisticated echolocation, exceptionally long lifespan of about 20 to 30 years, disease resistance, transparent wing membrane, cycles of extended rest mostly in winter, during which they live on biological reservoirs, have enhanced their importance in the scientific and medical researches. There is a very interesting ancient Chinese design conveying the importance of bats to mankind. The design has 5 red-colored bats shown in a circle placed in such a way that their feet touch. The red color indicates joy and 5 bats in circle indicate 5 blessings to the mankind. They are the health, long life, prosperity, love for virtues and natural death.